If you notice, the Cullens are those super white, rich, and perfect people. But what few people ask is what kind of shampoo they use. How did no one realize that they were vampires? They have a lot of signs that would make you doubt whether they are normal people or if they are made with artificial intelligence. Actually, there's an explanation, friends. And we can find this explanation through the books, the movie, and interviews with the actors who played these characters. So, are you ready to find out how to be a Cullen? Let's begin. There are 4 factors that the Cullens are very careful about so that no one finds out they're vampires. Residence, their relationships and friendships, legal matters, and most importantly, finances. Let's start with their residence. We know that in the movie they are located in Washington in the United States, specifically in the town of Forks. But the thing is, they can't live in the same place for too long. Otherwise, people would realize that they don't age or that there's something strange about them. The Cullens have to move every 6 or 7 years, which is about the time when people start to notice changes in age, school graduations, or even their reputation in the community. They do everything possible to stay in the same place for as long as they can. But their stay is almost always around 6 or 7 years, and the way they choose where to move is very peculiar. First of all, it must have the perfect climate for them, which means places with cloudy weather. This way, they avoid always having to be well covered like a nun, so they don't shine in the sunlight. The second factor is distance. According to the books, they almost always move to a city or town that's about 2 hours away from their previous residence. This is approximately 140 minutes or 45 kilometers away. The good thing about all this is that the Cullen family owns several houses throughout the United States. They bought all these houses over time. There's only one that was inherited by Edward, and this house belonged to his parents, who were lawyers, and that's how they passed it down to Edward. And over time, he has found ways to inherit it for himself, pretending to be a member of his own family. This is so people don't say that Edward has already lived for more than 400 years. Something's wrong. The only thing you need to keep in mind is that to return to a place you've already been before, you have to wait about 70 to 80 years, which is the average lifespan of a human. This way, they make sure that people don't recognize them and they can come back as the new kids in town. And that's how, through their immortal life, they move into all these houses. After 7 years with a new life and new family ties, which brings us to the next point, relationships and friendships. After moving, their family roles don't always stay the way they were presented to us in the movie. These adapt according to the place or past lives they have had. Sometimes Edward is an only child. In other cases, while only Rosalie and Jasper are Carsley's children, they're simply just roommates who met out of nowhere. It all depends on what they want to choose. In fact, this can also influence whether they live together or not. For example, there was a time when Alice and Jasper lived in another house, just like Rosalie and Emmett, who preferred to live separately as a newlywed couple. Also, something very important is that they change their names, and sometimes Jasper uses the last name Hale, which is Rosalie's. Every time they pretend to be twins, and the same thing happens with their professions. Over time, each member of the family has become an expert in different things. Some can be doctors, accountants, teachers, or lawyers. But even if they move to other states and cities, there's still a chance that someone who knew them before might run into them in this new place. You know, they went to visit their family, they went for work, or any situation in life. This is where Alice comes in with her ability and helps them see the future, and in this way, avoid encounters with these familiar people. Although, in the same way, they are very cautious about sharing any very personal information with the people they meet every day. And this is combined with another of their most important rules, which is not to have human visitors in their house. That's right, my friend. If by fate you became close with a Cullen, they still wouldn't invite you to their house, not even in your dreams. And of course, their golden rule is to only feed on animals so they don't cause any trouble or have problems with the police. Let's continue with the legal aspect. And the Cullens really do have a huge legal advantage, since their ace up their sleeve is their lawyer, Jenks. Every time the Cullens move, buy a new property, or make money in not so legal ways, Jenks steps in. He's the lawyer who handles all their IDs, all legal deeds, vehicle bills. And he's always updating everything to the Cullens' new names and locations. But obviously, to have him do all this, they pay Jenks a lot of money. Being illegal isn't so free and cheap, huh? So if you ever saw the Cullen family in your city and you look for information about them after they've already left, most likely Jenks and Jenks have already erased all the records as if they never existed. And even though Jenks seems very trustworthy, the truth is that Jasper uses his powers of duckkinesis. He does this to manipulate him or turn him into a duck. But how is it that the Cullens can do all this? You would need a lot of money to keep changing identities and houses like crazy, don't you think? That's how we get to the most important aspect for the Cullens, the economy. They have a huge advantage over an ordinary human. And that's because they're immortal, so they can accumulate a lot of money over many years. And what if they remember? They only eat wild animals, so they don't have to spend their whole paycheck on groceries. And have you ever wished you could see the future to guess the winning lottery ticket numbers? Goodbye, guess what? Here, Alice is in charge of seeing the future. Guessing all these games of chance, like betting, the millionaire lottery, or even plays at the casino. But watch out, they do all this with a very cautious system, so no one suspects them. And besides, of course, all this money is laundered by Jenks. Also remember that each of the members knows a lot of things to have different professions, and they're very well paid. For example, we saw that Carsley was a doctor with a very good reputation, and his wife Esme was an architect. And in this way, Jenks takes advantage to find the best way to launder all that money, using each one of the Cullens. But this extreme lifestyle comes with a huge cost, having to pay maintenance for all the houses they own. Their little legal tricks and tuition fees cost almost all the money they earn, and yes, we can see them as millionaires. But let's remember that they're not like normal humans with very expensive needs. They just want to survive and live a peaceful life. Putting all this together, the Cullens make sure that no one ever recognizes them, and now that Bella is with them, she'll have to adapt to this new lifestyle. By the way, I forgot to mention that we didn't include much about the story behind the Cullens. In case you'd like to see a complete story and timeline of this peculiar family, don't forget to let us know in the comments. But anyway, what do you think, friends? Would you like to be part of the Cullen family, or would you rather keep living your normal life?